Hi guys, welcome back to Cynthia's Crossings End of Life Services. I'm Christelle Anderson, End of Life Doula, and I'm going to talk to you today about long-term care and how to prepare for it. So there's a lot of misconceptions. Unfortunately, Medicare does not cover long-term care. Medicare only covers 100 days, they cover a portion of 100 days of skilled nursing care after a hospitalization. So if you need to be in a rehab and need physical therapy, doctors, nurses, and that sort of thing, then Medicare covers up to 100 days. Medicaid is for indigent people, and it is something that can cover long-term care, but it is a last resort, and it's after all assets are gone. In order to access Medicaid, you actually have to only have $2,000 of assets in the bank. And so it's really a last case scenario. And unfortunately, a lot of places that accept Medicaid are not going to be your first choice of a place you would want to stay. The conditions may be poor, and it's not something we want to rely on. So I'm going to tell you everything I just learned, because I just went to a seminar, and I'm going to give you a little, I just want to let you know this seminar was put on by a financial planning institution, and so I'm sure it was biased. So I also want to say it was great information, but there is no one-size-fits-all scenario, okay? So take what I say with a grain of salt and look at your individual specific situation of assets, of what kind of family you have that might be wonderful and willing to take care of you when you need help. And maybe if you don't have that family, what are we going to do instead? So there's lots of variables, and I'm going to try to break it down simply for you. So what long-term care consists of is home caregiving companies. It can be adult daycare. It can be a skilled nursing facility, and it can be an assisted living facility. So that constitutes long-term care. Now, most long-term care policies, they can be activated into effect for you to access your benefits if you are unable to do 2 of the 6 activities of daily living. Those are eating, toileting, transferring, bathing, and a couple others I have to remember, I'm sorry. But anyway, 2 of the 6 determined by a doctor that you need assistance with. Once that's in play, you can usually activate any of your long-term care policies. Now, that being said, there are a lot of different products out there. The ways that long-term care can be paid for: either private pay, where you're using all of your assets. I want to tell you the average price in our nation for a caregiver to come into your home, which is like a nurse's aide level or a home health aide level. It's not a skilled 24/7 RN or anything like that. This would be someone that helps with bathing, light housekeeping, going to the doctors, taking you on errands, is $35 an hour. And usually they have a minimum, like they will come no less than 2 or 3 or 4 hours a day. So keep that in mind when you're budgeting. Some people can be able to stay in their homes with as little as maybe 2 or 3 days of having a caregiver come in, which is a lot cheaper than having to private pay for a whole living at an assisted living facility. So that's about the average national cost, $35 an hour for a caregiver to come in. And 9 out of 10 people want to live in their home and stay in their home. So this is a great option for you to be able to stay in your home if you need limited assistance. So that is private pay. So that's going to have to either come from your budget, your assets, or from, if you qualify for Medicaid, or from a long-term care policy. The average cost for full-time inpatient assisted living care per year or skilled nursing care is $140,000 a year. So if you have to pay for that for, 3 or 4 years, that can spend down all your life savings and assets. So if you want to protect those assets and have something to leave for your children, you can get a long-term care policy. There's several different products. There's some that are traditional long-term care where basically you're paying a premium, putting money into the system, into the insurance company for years on end. And if by chance you don't use it, you just lose all that money. So that is one thing, a traditional long-term care policy. And to access it, like I said, 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living you need assistance for. Now, the other option is they have these hybrid annuity type things where they act as like a life insurance policy and they can be activated to pay for long-term care. So you don't lose all the money you put in. That's like a really great product, and that's a newer thing that's come out recently. And so financial planners do have those products available. I know the financial planner we use, it's First Command Financial Planning. They said they offer 4 of these different products. So to pay for your long-term care, if you end up needing it, and the statistics were staggering. For a couple over 65 years old, a husband and wife, they say 93% chance that at least one of them will need long-term care. And the 70% chance that anyone over 65 is going to need long-term care. With 78 million baby boomers right now, and everyone is living so much longer, we need to prepare for this and just know what's out there and know, we either need to be self-insured, meaning have a lot of money to cover those costs if we get to that point, or we need to have a long-term care policy, or we need to be willing to lose every asset we have and then have Medicaid kick in and pay for our care. That happens to some people. Or if you're a veteran and you do not have the income, if you don't exceed the income limits, you can also access a program called Aid in Attendance through the VA, where they provide some help for long-term care, like caregiving expenses in your home. That's an option. And then a lot of veterans think, well, I'll just go to a VA nursing home. That is all based on your priority group. So if you have a really high disability rating, you may be in a really high priority group, and then you may get a bed in a VA nursing home. But most people do say that there's a very long wait list for that, like over a year. So these are just some things we need to be thinking about and preparing for. There's a lot of great options if you have an awesome family. If you can have either a family member move in, another thing that can keep you home a long time is just to make sure you have a full bathroom, a bedroom, and the laundry facilities all on the first floor of your home. That can keep you home a lot longer when you don't have to do stairs. Another option is a thing called granny pods. They're like these little cottages, and they can be they're like retrofitted to have oxygen in them. They can have sound alarms that let your family in the house know when you hit the floor in the morning. They have video cameras. They're completely set up for an elderly person to live basically in your backyard. So if your child or a family member has room to have one of these granny pods, They run anywhere from, I think, $70,000 all the way up to $250,000, however high tech you want to get them. Basically, it's like a really high tech tiny house. So that's an option. Or you can have an in-law unit built onto your home for your elderly family members. There's a lot of out-of-the-box options. We don't have to stick with the traditional things, and it's my job to just educate you on navigating this end-of-life process. So I really hope that this was helpful information. And if you'd like any other information, you can always go to my website, cynthiascrossings.com, or you can email me at cynthiascrossings@gmail.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions and serve you in any way I can. Thanks, and have a great day.